Back to the morning show here on Arise News. I'm Veronica Odeka. And
yes, I'm still here.
well, our next guest is an entrepreneur, educator, and public policy enthusiast. He is the CEO of Thesis Education Group with 15 years progressive experience in sales and marketing, financial services, and education consulting. He has facilitated several conferences, training, and developmental programs for corporate and educational institutions on leadership and business process, re-engineering. Welcome, Bosun Adedokun. Welcome to the morning show.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So you heard our earlier guests. We're talking about back to school and education, and we're so excited to have you because you're bringing in sort of a different angle to this. But I really wanted to start out with teacher training. I wanted to ask you about teacher training. Do you believe that the onus of continuous training should be on the teachers or should be actually on the institutions?
Well, I think two perspectives. One, the leadership of the school needs to take responsibility for the staff they have on board. You know the vision you're pursuing, you know what you actually want to achieve. And it's important for you to also bring your staff up to that point of seeing what the vision is and ensuring that they are prepared for the accomplishment of that vision. At the end of the day, the quality of the staff you have on board will determine the quality of what you dish out as a school. The quality of the teaching and learning in your school will distinguish your school from others. So you need to take responsibility for the development of those staff that work with you. However, that does not leave out the fact that professionals also need to take responsibility for their personal development.
So I guess it's a mutual responsibility.
Exactly, mutual responsibility. So nobody is saying it's yours, you need to pay for this, pay for this. There are times I also need to look up for trainings and programs that will help me develop as a professional.
Yeah, because
then take responsibility.
I think that a lot of times some of the schools do have certification levels that when you've taught for a certain amount of time, you keep on taking exams, or what do they call it, to continue to perfect your skill, or even just make sure that you're still in alignment with the courses that you're teaching. Because I realize that with teachers also, there is a lot of interchanging. So for instance, in the elementary school, so the primary school level, for instance, you have teachers that start off teaching primary 1 and that they're still capable the next year to teach primary 4. I know it happens at my kids' school. So there's a lot of interchanges. So I would believe that even though there's only so much that the school can do, that the teachers themselves will take the additional precaution to make sure that they are stepping up to be equipped with everything that they need to take on the new students.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because again, you probably will have an opportunity to move out of your present work environment to another one.
Yes.
And you need to also live with something. They will ask you, so how much of responsibility of developing yourself personally have you been able to take or put upon yourself? You understand? Again, schools will also send you for trainings that has to do with your core role within the system. So for you as a professional, when you look 5-10 years down the line of where you are going to, ask yourself what other skills, what other competencies you need to develop along the line. Then you also take responsibility and look at those areas that the school have not been able to provide for you. So I think it's a mutual thing, just like you said. Schools need to do their own. Professionals need to also do their own.
So let me ask you just a quick question, just to kind of follow up on that. I noticed that in a lot of schools in Nigeria, for instance, there seems to be a lot of after-school programming for kids. A lot of lessons are being taken. Does this have anything to do you think it's more of a personal thing, or do you think it has a lot to do with our education system? Because it's not really practiced in other countries. But in Nigeria, you almost never see a child who is in elementary school, primary school, secondary school, who doesn't always have the extra lessons that they're taking with hours.
Not extracurricular activities.
No, not extracurricular. It's just lessons. Just more classwork.
So you do regular class.
So you have lessons. So more lessons continuously that are followed up. Why is that, or you know?
Well,
Can you shed some light on this?
Yes, I think it's something we develop from in our own environment. Yeah. After schools need not to be about core academics. Again, it should be about extracurricular activities and all that. But if you have to do extras, it means the students or the pupils in your care have not been able to attain some measure of learning. And you need to do some measure of patch up for them. Not the same academics morning 8 a.m. to 2, and you're trying to make money and bring students in again to do extra lessons. I don't think that's not part of what we need. You understand? You also need to give them time to rest. After school time in school should be for other curricular activities. You want to go learn swimming, you want to go learn ballet, you want to go learn several other skills that can help you. Just like we do during summer. Summer is not just for core academics again. It's for students to develop skills that cannot be taken care of within the school system with the 186 or 182 days we have during the course of the school year. You understand? You are going to a camp to learn leadership, you are going to a camp to learn coding, the extras, not the core academics of literacy, English, and all that again. So when that's an inversion of our own system.
Okay, so when you find a situation where, instance, and this is where you come in as a teacher and an educator, when you find a situation where at school, 80% of their students still do have to take lessons or something, is the onus then on the school to contact someone like you to come in and train the teachers? Because if 80% or more of your kids have to take lessons or after school to help with homework, just to catch up or to stay in tune with the curriculum, doesn't it mean that there's something there, there's a gap?
There's something wrong with the system.
Okay.
The quality of teaching and learning is low.
Okay.
Poor within the system.
Okay.
And they need to do something about it. There's no way you will have 70-80% of your children needing extra.
That's a lot of kids out there.
It's a lot.
But a lot of kids, a lot of students, a lot of Nigerian schools, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
They are constantly in lessons after 2 hours, 3 hours between math and science and English and writing.
I think most of the schools involved in that are on the maybe grade C or D schools.
Okay.
Or he said.
You were like, what, grade C or D?
Okay.
Like, I need to talk to the principal of my school.
I'm just asking.
Now you've got Veronica. She's going to go into the principal's office and say, this is what they said.
Maybe is that what he said. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, I mean, you're talking as an education consultant. You've done a lot of education consulting engagement. I really want to get out of because I'm guessing those schools called you in and they've paid you for that. So that means that these are schools that actually have the ability to pay. When you look at public schools, when you look at the schools where 80% of Nigerian kids are going into, what is happening to those teachers that have been teaching for many years that are in that method of sitting in front of the class, teaching, you take it in? How are we breaking down those walls? Because that is where 80% of our kids are getting educated.
Yes.
Well, the truth is, we had a discussion backstage, and we have a lot of problem with the public education system in Nigeria, and seems to look as if the private system has left the public education system far behind. And even as a regulator, you find it very difficult to regulate the two at the same level. So it's important for us to, and this is a challenge for all of us, and not just for those of us in the sector, for every one of us to look at what we can do to help the system.
But I mean, you were part of that system for a while. From a public policy perspective, what were some of the things that you believe that you guys were able to do then, and have they continued to sustain the system? Give us some concrete reforms that have happened, and how have they been carried through?
Okay. One, the idea of teacher training within the public school system, why we need to improve, but a couple of states here and there have been able to do something around that area.
Tell us states doing well. Let's give them a shout out.
Lagos has been able to do a whole lot around teacher training, improving the quality of learning and all that.
How?
Again, they've been able to, by virtue of the fact that a couple of years ago, they were able to break the public school system, put them under districts so that they can easily manage them. You understand? There's a district office close by around there. Manage a couple of schools, then districts around other areas. They've been able to have managers who have been in the system for years, mentors who can lead some teachers across board within that sector, placed under them. That gives you an opportunity to take stock of what exactly you need within your own district.
Yeah, so it's in smaller doses to control
the government can plan towards that and ensure that they do something to improve the quality of what they have. Then when they have training programs, they also spread this across the districts. So it's not just happening around one district, it's happening across districts within the state. You understand? two, it's also very important to understand the fact that data is very important in education reform.
Yes.
How many students do we have? How many schools? How many classrooms? What do they need? So that you can plan adequately.
Yes.
So 10 years down the line, how many students are we going to be having in our primary school system? How many are we going to have in our secondary school system? Then what do we need to do to prepare for those children by the time they are come? With the support of foreign development partners, we've been able to do a whole lot around that area. So I want to give kudos to the Lagos State government for doing what there's still much more to be done. But again, they've been able to do that. I think during the tenure of the immediate past Governor Fashola, there was also a study around the quality of learning going on in the classroom.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about that study.
You understand? And so the study is about asking, so what do we need to improve? At what level do we have our students now? Are we performing and all that? What quality, what competencies do our present teachers need to be able to scale up in terms of the quality of what happens in
What
the
were some of the
classroom?
things that the research brought out when it came to competencies that teachers needed? Do you remember some highlights?
Yes. One major area is the fact that most teachers in the public school lack digital skills.
What is it that they
Digital
do?
skills.
Oh, okay.
Digital
Yes,
skills.
yes.
Then most of them still focused on the teacher-centered mode of teaching. You understand? Sit in front of you.
It's
Again,
not
you probably
interactive.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
interactive. You have 80 students or 120 students to work with, and you just have to rush yourself through the periods that you have.
I'm sure
so
smaller classrooms were
smaller
also
classes will
one of the
help and
things.
all that. So quite a number of them have been able to also learn the fact that the 21st century, we need to move away from the teacher-centered mode of teaching and make it much more classroom and student-centered,
Yes.
so that they can participate in their own learning. Despite the fact that they attend public schools, they still have tools around them that can also help them to get involved in their learning. You understand?
I want to ask you this question because our earlier guest really focused on parents and also the working with parents. The one thing that I keep on saying is if you look at the 80% of our kids that are in public school, about 30% of those children, their parents might not be educated, might not be able to engage in sort of this 24/7 learning, or they might not know how to interpret that 24/7 learning. When you look at children in public school and parent engagement in public school, as an education consultant, what do you think are the things that need to be done to engage parents who might not be as literate as other parents, especially in the public school arena?
Okay, let me give you an example of one of the things the Lagos State government did at the time. If we will pay for your child to sit for WAEC, then you need to attend a certain number of meetings, parent-teachers association meetings, to interact with you. We can't educate your child without you. We can't. The system can't do that successfully well. So if you have a child in public school, it's expected that you attend a number of parent-teachers meetings where you are briefed about the progress of your
So you're able to keep in tune
kids
with what's
and
happening
exactly
with your
with
children.
what's happening. As a matter of fact, there was a particular that's still operational now. They have open days now.
Yes.
You understand?
I
They
know
have
of
open
open-
days.
Yes, I've
then
seen
as a
that.
parent, you have to go inside
Yes.
the class to meet your child's teacher.
And they also do
Interact
have, I
with
think,
them.
through the semester, they constantly have end of year progress reports where
Exactly.
you're able to know, and they invite the parents into the schools.
So it's not just about whether you are learned or not. By meeting your
Teacher
child's
and having
teacher,
that engagement.
that engagement.
Yeah.
So what's happening? How's my child learning? Is he doing well? Is he even coming to class? Because we have cases of students
Yes.
leaving the house
Yes.
and they don't
They
get
don't
to
get to
school.
the school.
So is he coming to class? Is he writing his notes? So you have to probably meet like 8 subject teachers. He looks at your child's note and like, oh, he's not been able to write this. Okay, he's done this and all that. So to a large extent, they've been able to get
Engage
the
and incorporate parents.
into the system, whether learned or not.
Okay.
Again, the society will, like a couple of organizations are now doing, trying to provide safe places for young people like that to have a supportive environment. Because your dad or mom is probably not around when you get back to school so that you can do your homework or something. People now have pockets of maybe like a youth development center, after school center, within communities where students can go, do their homework, and get people who support them.
I know that there just something else that I wanted to talk about when it comes to school and education is not just about the parents and the students as well. It does always have to do with the other factors that helps a child's education learning, which is food and nutrition. Some of the kids are not able to kind of afford backpacks and shoes and uniforms, and what can be done, or what kind of funding can be done to kind of also help, because this will help to raise the level of learning. To supplement the learning for the children in public schools.
Well, in the area of lunch, or some children coming to school without breakfast, I think the federal government is doing a good one with the school feeding program.
Which is also become an incentive for kids to go to school.
Exactly, to go to school.
So at least you get
because with that, like in Oshun, probably school attendance jumped up over like 25-30%.
So I should say there's also
they started that even far before the federal government
stepped in.
And that is just giving kids 1 meal a day. 1
meal a day. I give you an example. In a particular country in East Africa, a whole lot of things that were done to help improve the number of girls that come to school on a regular basis. But they didn't realize the fact that on the days girls don't come to school, it's probably when they have their menstrual cycle.
And
there are no toilets to do this and all that. So instead of just spending money building big classrooms, put a toilet for them.
Yes.
Give them sanitary pads for them to work with and all that. So again, those little things go a long way to help improve the educational outcomes and all that within the system. Again, one of the things that some have been able to do in support with the state government is to provide ICT centers in schools. So that gives you another motivation to come to school, but stay behind to learn some things. So you're not just learning English and mathematics, you're also learning coding.
Yes, a lot of the schools have that now.
And if we're able to do a couple of things like that, some others, maybe football competition, reading competition is also helping
engaging with the children.
Exactly.
We're winding down, but before we finish, I wanted you to talk about entrepreneurship opportunities within the education space. Because, I mean, one of the things they talked about was the fact that we don't have enough institutions. There are not going to be enough physical infrastructures to accommodate the generation of people coming out of schools. I mean, every year we already have 1 million people left behind from high school to university because there's just not enough institutions, and we're using JAM as a weeding tube. But really, people that want an education should be able to get an education with or without JAM. There should be a way for them to get tertiary education. What are some of the entrepreneurship opportunities that you've seen in this space, and how is government supporting that?
Okay, I think one major area, just like the last session focused on, is the development of skills, technical skills, that you don't necessarily need to go to the university to get a degree of 4 or 5 years to what we call, especially technical digital skills, coding, software development, website designs. Quite a number of people that I know of, I'm working with someone on a project in Abuja to start an Institute of Technology.
Okay, an Institute of just Technology. Okay. And they've been able to get the government's cooperation and sign up?
They're still trying to get approval from government. But I think a couple of years ago, government gave people an opportunity to start institutions like that that can award what they call a National Innovation Diploma.
Okay.
Okay.
You understand? And what do you use that for?
Just 2 years, courses, entrepreneurship, and the technical aspect of whatever major area. Adire making, garment making, technical skills around that area, so that at the end of the 2 years, you can start something on your own.
You still have that degree to hold. I know a lot of schools abroad do that. In America, they have a lot of those schools where you just go for 2 years to college.
A lot of technical schools.
And then you still get some certificate.
I think what government needs to do in that area is to now say, okay, so if you have this diploma, if you want to go back to university route later on, you have like 2.5 years or 3.5 years to spend. Okay. But for now, I think it's still not connected. But at least you have people who go there, spend 2 years, have a certificate, but not beyond the certificate, they have the technical skill, they have the entrepreneurial ability to start something on their own and get going. So
have you ever been brought into a public school to do a consulting engagement by a local principal?
Yeah.
And what are those engagements normally like?
Okay, so a couple of years ago, I served on the board of a public school as a community-based member within the environment I live in. They co-opted a couple of people within the community to be part of the school management board. And what we're able to do is majorly focus on the pupils. There's a whole lot of behavioral issues within the public school system, you understand? And so we organize on a regular basis talks for the children, bring people in who are role models and talk to them. What we've discovered is the fact that when they see role models, those that look like the people they want to be like, they listen to them.
Yes.
You understand? That looks like it, but seeing someone from the same background as them
And the same community.
and going against those barriers and hurdles and making it in life, they want to listen and also follow that path. One other aspect we'll be able to work on is to ensure that the teachers understand the fact that whether government comes to your aid in terms of training or not, you still have the responsibility to take care of your own professional development. We can't turn the tide against low quality public school system if all of us are not ready to also take responsibility to do something within the system. You probably may not be able to do something very big, but within your space, within that little space you have of the public school, teachers can also come together and ask themselves, so if these ones are our children, what are we going to do better? Even when government don't show up, what can we do? One other area I think the government have not been able to delve into that we are also talking to them to look at is tapping into the resources of the alumni of those schools. These schools have been in the system for 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
That's always been a very good place to go
Exactly.
to
So why not tap into that resources and then bring them in? May not necessarily be cash, may not necessarily be giving material things, but they can give their knowledge, they can give up their time to mentoring the children. They can, some are ready to even give their time to also teach. Maybe take a gap year from work, 1 year, teach public school students, like Teach for Nigeria is doing presently. Yes, that's a very good initiative to also improve what we have with the public education system. If you're able to get support for Teach for Nigeria to be in even 20 states, you see
that's a game
changer. The big difference.
Oh, thank you so much for being
so
here.
knowledgeable.
This was so you have
very insightful.
This is your space, definitely. We'll definitely have you back as we talk about this and as we get ready for back to school. Thank you very much.
Thank you.